This is Intimacy Architecture Radio with your host, Christy and Bella. Brought to you by Intimacy Architecture, www.intimacyarchitect.com. I guess for our viewers who maybe don't already know BDSM kind of in a nutshell, and then give us your angle on it, on this wellness expert side.
So BDSM is all about, there's an acronym for it. It stands for bondage, discipline, sadomasochism, master slave. Like there's a whole bunch of, basically at the end of the day, it stands for being kinky. All things that are not vanilla.
There you go. I love it.
And so what I found was, it's really interesting how I actually found this wellness aspect of it, was that my own personal journey into BDSM, I used it a lot for my own transformational healing of trauma, reclaiming, old wounds, learning how to surrender and let go of being a control freak, learning how to be, finding safety and what that meant, finding my voice. There's all these places for me personally that I was doing all of this huge transformational growth and basically therapeutic work. And of course, with some happy endings, which always makes it more fun.
Yes.
So, what ended up happening was that I started seeing, I had, my private practice as a holistic sexual wellness specialist for years. And I had one client in particular who came to see me, and he really wanted to explore, kink and BDSM. And, so I suggested him go find, a dominatrix and, go explore that route and, how I could give all this, things, make sure he had all the safety protocols and all the logistical stuff that he needed to know. And so off he went, and he hired a couple of different pro-dominatrix, but he wasn't getting what he needed from it.
Right.
And so he came to me, he's like, I really trust you. I really, really trust you. And he's like, would you be willing to go on this journey with me to help me to not only for the exploration side of it, but also for, to help me with my healing journey.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, let's try this out and see what happens, right? So I dropped into it, and I started using basically, cognitive, behavioral therapy, basically reward and punishment concept, right? So it was like, if you did your homework, you got rewarded. If you didn't do your homework, you got punished. And because we're already wired to do that, right? Like one of us programmed already to do that. What was happening is that I've been working with him for 2 years trying to get his porn addiction under control, his anxiety issues under control, like all of these things. And within 2 sessions, he was like meditating, going to yoga, doing all of his homework, doing all the things that he needed to do. And it was this huge transformational change that happened for him. And I was like, oh, there's some stuff here. Like, this is powerful. This is incredibly powerful. And I don't have to work nearly as hard.
Right?
And my clients don't have to spend as much money because I don't have to teach for as long. It's like, get the pieces that need to happen, which is always that struggle of, making those transformational changes, right, into the action pieces.
Yes.
So that's where I kind of started to dive more into that. And then I started to explore it from a place of, okay, so, I have a lot of clients come see me that have trauma. And one of the things that is, the awful byproduct of trauma is that the fact that there is no concept of safety. You've never felt safe. You don't know what safety is. People talk about the importance of safety, and you're like, well, what the fuck is that? It's like, oh yeah. Wait, am I allowed to swear?
Oh, you're totally good. Yep.
Okay.
I love it.
So I started to I was like, okay, so what if, when clients were ready, right, to get to that stage, I was like, okay, well, how do I create it in a safe environment so that they can learn to surrender, and so they know what that surrendering and safety is about? being able to voice what they need, you know, communication, all of this stuff. And so I started finding that, you know, I would tie up a client, and we would just tie up a client, and they would be like, okay, this is, you know, terrifying, and we would like lean into it, and we would explore it, and they would feel really safe. And they were like, wow, okay, so this is what safety feels like. And once they captured the sensation of safety, they then could then take that safety sensation into all the other areas of their lives. But it was really, really challenging to get them to get to that place, because they had no concept of it. Like, you know, if you've never seen the sunset, and someone says, oh, you know the sunset, people are like, no, I've never seen the sunset. So safety is the same thing. And so I found BDSM as a great tool to creating those safe environments, so that people can explore that in a controlled environment. So
I absolutely love it. It was such a game changer for me personally, because I, you know, also just, for my own fun and enjoyment. And then I had an experience once where this woman was topping me, and at the end of it, she's like, I want to walk you around and like show people, you know, the marks. And I was like, I'm not your friggin' show pony. Like, and then I had this moment where I like paused and I like sat and like, well, what is my resistance? And like, what could be good about this? Like, if I leaned into the discomfort and kind of got past this story that I had. And it was so healing to be like, yes, that's right. I felt this pain. You know, I had all this unrecognized pain throughout my life, and times when people didn't believe I was in pain or something was, you know, uncomfortable. And to get people to like see that and acknowledge it and validate it and be like, yes, like your pain is real and we see it. And I was just like, oh my God, this is it. Like, this is a healing modality. This isn't just, you know, I mean, it is kinky and fun and playful and you know, but it's also a healing modality, a huge, powerful healing modality. So I remember sitting, I don't know if you know who Marianne Williamson is. She's like a new agey speaker type person, but she would host these events, and I went to one of her events, and I was like, you know, everyone gets to share what they're, you know, working on. And I was like, I'm super excited. I'm going to do yoga and BDSM. And she just looked at me and she's like, I need a moment to like pray for you. And I was like, what? I'm like, no, I'm onto something. This is genius. Like, what the hell are you talking about? So I love that you saw it too. I love that you were like, no, this is brilliant. Like, clients progress faster. This shit works.
Yeah, this shit totally works.
Yeah.
Totally works. I'm the universe's bitch. When it comes to my own personal growth and development, the universe is my master, right? And I'm its submissive and I'm its bitch. Mm-hmm. And so if I want to be in that place of ultimate enlightenment, the best version of myself, it's about surrendering and letting go of control. And that's my own personal journey. It's like, it's constantly like, oh, that's right. Surrender, let go of control. Surrender, let go of control. Surrender. The universe is bitch. Universe is bitch.
I love that. And it's so true. I think that's the part where BDSM... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and the more I lean into that place of that being in the flow, surrendering that place, the more magical my life happens, the more abundance happens for me, the more success happens for me, and the better, how do I want to put this, the better leader I become. So I'm actually not moving from when I lead and I'm in that dominant role, I'm in this place from a place of love, not from a place of control, and not from a place of needing to have power over. And that, I think, has been a huge shift. The more I've learned to surrender, the better I've become as a leader and a dominant, actually.
Absolutely. And that's where I see, if more people embraced the exploration of BDSM, they would find that same sense of peace. I think, you know, this struggle we get into of trying to feel in control of something and struggling with trust, I feel like just, you know, a good BDSM session could really open your eyes to see that universal relationship of trust, of being able to submit comfortably to the divine will and allow yourself to just show up and be led, and you would see, how much, things just fall into place so organically with so much more ease, rather than trying to force and make something happen, which tends to be the like go get 'em mentality that most of us are taught. Is like, you have to achieve and make this happen. And it's like, actually, to the contrary, the less you do, the more you actually get.
It is. It's quite beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are, some of the big pieces, I think, for me around, the whole idea of, BDSM as a wellness perspective,
mm-hmm.
as a holistic perspective, as a, giving you the opportunities. And then there's also this beautiful piece of having to take responsibility and ownership and communication for what it is that you want and what it is that you need. And I think that's the other beautiful piece that that I find is incredibly therapeutic for people, is that often in vanilla sex, we aren't encouraged to communicate and to talk and to ask for what we need. And, we there's all this stuff about assumptions and, seduction and, murky consent and all this kind of stuff, right, in the vanilla world.
Yeah.
But one of the things I really love about BDSM is that things are negotiated. There's like, before you play, before there's a scene, everything has worked itself out. You've had conversations. You're like, what are your hard limits? What are your safe words? There's aftercare. Like, there's all these things that are put into place so that everybody feels good about the experience and everybody gets their needs met, no matter whether you're on the bottom or on the bottom or the top. And that is something that is so powerful, because we're not actually taught to communicate. We're not taught to ask for it, like out in the rest of the world, right? We're not supported in being able to say, no, that's a hard limit for me, or yes, that's what I really want, And so I find that that's really another beautiful aspect of BDSM from a therapeutic perspective, is that piece of really learning to figure out who you are, accept who you are, and then communicate what your needs are to others.
Huge. I mean, I would say that is like 90% of the work that I do with clients is trying to teach them to get specific about what they want and how to ask for that and how to negotiate along the way. Because it is so funny. It is just absolutely, I mean, I guess unless you're studying to be a lawyer, it's definitely not something anybody teaches you, how to have these conversations, and it's vital. And I absolutely, I've seen it just transform people, again, outside of the world of BDSM, to be able to go forth and say, like, no, I know now what I want. And instead of, just taking whatever comes and settling, that they're really clear. So we have a caller. If you're ready to take a caller, here we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello, caller. You are on the air. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Long time listener, first time caller here.
Love it. So
excellent.
You can
welcome.
You can stay anonymous if you'd like, or you're welcome to share your name if you wish.
My name is Billy.
All right, Billy. So do you have a question for our goddess in residence, Gaia Morrissette, or did you have a short story you wanted to share with us?
Well, I had something I was dealing with the other night, and I was looking for a little insight, if you don't mind.
Yeah, great. Let's hear it.
Well, I have a friend. She's been a friend for a while, and we've done some playing and dabbling in BDSM stuff. And then, but the other night, this is a question more about boundaries, I suppose. And I've learned a lot about healthy boundaries in the past, and when to find my boundary, and hopefully people respect your boundaries. I've been trying to respect other people's, things like that. I noticed the other night, we talk in BDSM about consensual, I guess, hitting, spanking, things like that, and then non-consensual is obviously not good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. in my personal experience, I was, and you know, it was a while ago. Somebody hit me non-consensually, and but I ended up going to jail for 12 hours for domestic violence because of it.
Wow.
And I'm pretty, it's pretty, you know, so it's a difficult subject for me sometimes. Anyways, during a conversation with this friend, I found out that they had been involved in a situation like that where they had been the one that had done that. And I noticed that when we started talking about that, I kept asking questions, but I noticed I was starting to shake a little bit, like a real hard boundary, you know? Yeah. And it was a little, I noticed I hate to even use the word triggered, but that's how I felt at the time. Afterwards, I said, listen, I tried to tell her what was going on, and I said, I think I have to leave, because I feel like I'm, you know, I've hit a boundary here, and I need to go. I wanted to be still friends, and, you know, she's good, you know, big part of my life. But I afterwards, she said that she texted me a bunch, and she said she felt judged, and I didn't mean to judge her. I was looking out for myself first, you know. And I don't want to lose a friend, you know, and I feel like I didn't want to end that way. I'm not sure how to handle it.
Okay.
Do you want to jump in first? Yeah. Go for it.
All right, let's take it. All right. So the first thing is that, you know, congratulations. Let's start there. Congratulations for recognizing that you were triggered, removing yourself from the situation, and, you know, setting a boundary. So, you know, that can be really challenging to do, especially when you're in a triggered state. And a lot of times when we're in a triggered state, we can become very reactive. So kudos for you. Like, that's amazing that you were able to handle it the way that you did.
Absolutely.
I think, you know, the piece that around the trigger, that might be a part of something for you to work through around, okay, is it a fact of not feeling safe that, you know, she, you know, non-consensually hit somebody? Does that mean that you can't trust that she won't do that to you? Like, what is the bigger picture there? Because I think once you figure out what those pieces are, then you can really lean into setting those parameters, those boundaries, those interactions, what's okay, what's not okay, how you want to move with her around that.
Yeah, if you're looking for a little more from me on this end, I was kind of getting mixed signals from her. You know, I thought we were friends, but I didn't know maybe we'd go further, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And I told myself that I would never get involved with someone who had done that. You know, I think that's a good boundary set.
Right.
And so I didn't want to judge her, but I did want to look out for myself and say, do I, you know, I wanted to give her all the benefit of the doubt. And it seems like, though, that she seems like maybe she thought that's okay to do, you know. So I didn't, and I tried to explain to her that it's not her, it's just what I've been through, and that's why I kind of have to leave. But she seemed to be hurt by it, and I could understand that. And so then that's when I said I really should go. And that's, I just, it's not that I didn't feel safe with her, I just didn't, you know, it brought up a lot of emotions from my past that I didn't want to do any more damage in the relationship. I just wanted to go and take some time for myself and maybe regroup a little bit, you know? Yeah. So.
Well, and it sounds like
and I would...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say...
I was going to say that... All right, you go. I'll be quiet.
It sounds like you had really set a boundary for yourself to, you know, like I have a rule that I don't date people who are alcoholics. And I've gone out with people and hung out with them, and they, in their mind, don't see themselves as an alcoholic. But what I view as alcoholic behavior, then I have to remove myself because that's my rule. And it has nothing to do with a judgment on them. Those are their choices, you know. But I know for me, I'm like, that's a hard line for me. So if that is a hard line for you, that, you know, if this is a part of someone's past experience, that is not the company that you want to be with, then you absolutely have to respect that. Now, like what Gaia was saying, if you kind of go and you sit with this and you determine that maybe there's some flexibility there, that maybe, you know, in this particular circumstance, you know this person well enough, or you're able to have conversations with her that clarifies so that you do feel safe, and, you know, that doesn't feel like a triggering issue. Obviously you can revisit that, but it sounds like you already had kind of predetermined, like, okay, this is, you know, this is my container. My container does not include people who have done this in the past. That's, you know, that's the container that makes me feel safe. So I definitely get you, you know, needing to remove yourself from the situation based on that you had set a precedence of, like, this is not acceptable for the company that you involve with your, you know, in your life.
Yeah, and
I just don't want to lose a friend either.
Yeah, but that's a piece. That's, you know, I mean, the other option in that, you know, I would suggest is, you know, we've all made choices in our past, and like, so for me, one of the things is like, you know, if you've done something in your past, tell me how you've healed it so that you're not that course corrected your life so that you're not going to make the same choice. And if there's, you know, they've done some therapy, they've done some healing, they've done some work around it, they've, you know, made some major life choices and changes, then it makes it something, it's no longer a current possibility. It's something that who they used to be. And I think that if that's the case, then that makes it easier for you to have somebody in your life that may have done something in the past that are a hard limit for you, but it's not who they are anymore. But if that isn't the case, the reality of a repeat of that is pretty likely. And so I think having a hard limit of, like, this is not okay for me, you know, you're really not really losing, I don't know how I want to say this, losing a friend. You're not losing somebody that you really want to have in your life, because that particular behavior is something that doesn't work for you in how you want to move in your world.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tough, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, when we care about people, especially if we've established a relationship and then something comes to light, it can be challenging to renegotiate what that relationship looks like. I would say with regards to her feeling upset, you know, ultimately we're all responsible for our own feelings. And my guess would be that the feelings of judgment she's experiencing are an internal thing, that, you know, that this came up and now she's having to look at herself in ways that maybe she hadn't before, because you reflected something to her that she didn't maybe see previously, which was like the other side of her actions, you know, getting to see somebody else's response who had been on the receiving end of that, and having to look at that and think, oh wow, like, you know, what is my role in how these things play out? And so, you know, that's where it's like, it's definitely on her to sort out her feelings, and just like you, it sounds like you've really owned your part to say, like, this isn't a personal attack, this is me taking care of myself, and, you know, trying to sort through my emotional well-being to determine, whether or not we can be friends, and what does that look like. But I absolutely love what Gaia said, you know, like, yes, we've all erred in our past. It's how you're moving forward, and, you know, and what are you doing to make changes and choices now that set you up for a successful future where, you know, these patterns shift. So I think that's definitely a conversation to have if you feel like you do want to move forward with this.
And
well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And thanks for risking and sharing and calling in.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Keep it up. I'll keep listening.
All right. Take care. Have a good night. Thank you.
Fridays, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Like, share, and subscribe.
Intimacy Architecture. Build a life you love.